Hello viewers, my name is Zach Hardy, and this is my review on USW Agony 2017. Before we get into the review, I'd like to state a couple things out first. Number one, if you haven't already realized, my Twitter account until Call to Greatness 12 takes place will be a countdown of the days, daily countdown to Call to Greatness 12. I do this practically every year since last year, so now every year. We have 35 days to go, and I believe on the day of Call to Greatness, I'll say something like today is CTGXII. So if you're wondering who, however many days to CTGXII is, that would be me. It's at Zachary Sir. So there you go. Number two, I have a lot of interesting stuff to put out this week. I'm going to have a couple of vlogs. I'm going to have hopefully a few different gaming videos. I'm going to hope to get the end of the preseason for the Holy Cross Crusaders franchise mode done and finished. And at the same time, I hope to get some vlogs out. I'm giving you this review on USW Agony. And yeah, another thing is that until Call to Greatness 12 is over, I will not be doing any more intensity and severity reviews, just primarily because of the fact that, sorry. There we go. Yeah, just because of the fact that intensity and severity tend to be a lot of filler from the final month of the build-up to Call to Greatness 12. So, Call to Greatness 12 is the next pay-per-view. And one more thing, I will be doing a live review of my WrestleMania 33 predictions this Sunday. I will also be doing a live review to my NXT TakeOver Orlando special as well. So there will be 2 streams this week, and I hope you guys will enjoy it. So without further ado, let's get into the review of Agony. I go over to my Google Doc that has the writing on it. Let's go to the top first. I take notes on every USW show I see, just so that way I can look at the segments, the interviews, etc. Go through them one by one, matches, all of them. So yes, and I also have my information here. So USW Agony 2017, that was held on March 26, 2017. It was from 3:30 to 6:30, I believe, and it was obviously $19.99 to rent. The opening segment was the Chaos guys. Now, if you didn't get any information on from the past episodes of Severity, there is a new group, a new stable called what is apparently now called the Mobocracy or Mobocracy or something like that. It is filled with Chris Ross, Capital, Chris Sanders, Drew Akron, Otis Crane, and a bunch of these guys from Severity. And the whole thing is that they're being underutilized, so they're grouping together to be, more prominent on the card. So the Chaos Men, who are apparently now called the Mobocracy, I'll just call it the Mobocracy, are seen entering the building in sweatshirts and their bags, on wheels, etc., just getting into, the area. This was in Philadelphia, by the way. So Agony was in Philadelphia. We get into the kickoff match, which was a really good way to open up the show. It was Eli Kaner versus Ty Jackson. I enjoyed this match because it showed a lot of character. It showed a lot of character development for Eli Kaner. Okay, I don't know what the fuck that's on my screen, but it showed a lot of character development for Eli Kaner, and Ty Jackson showed to be a solid worker as well. Obviously, Eli Kaner is no slouch in the ring. He's a pretty good technical wrestler, but Ty Jackson has always kind of lacked that it factor in his matches that made them worth watching. Many times it was just the idea of charisma or character that would make someone invested in a match that he didn't really have, and you weren't too invested in his matches. But with this match at Agony, it was a very solid match. I don't know if it's because you kind of were more interested in Eli Kaner, who's kind of like an arrogant, flamboyant, and charismatic kind of figure. He's like Tyler Breeze if Tyler Breeze was able to captivate the audience. He's like a mixture between Shinsuke Nakamura's personality, Tyler Breeze's flamboyance, and Cesaro's in-ring work. He hasn't really talked on the mic too much, so I can't really give a specific stance on how I feel about that. But he is a solid worker, and he's actually doing really great work. And the Eli Kaner character, I'm really liking where it's going, primarily because it's very interesting to see the character in it and of itself grow and develop from what it started as, where he was Surf, and now he's Eli Kaner, and he's putting on great matches. It's awesome. It's great to see the work he's doing right now. This match was really good. Ty Jackson kind of upped his game up a little bit. He showed more in-ring prowess. The match went less of a quick pace and more of a steady pace. You were interested. You seemed, it seemed like you could get involved in the match. They were both spending their energy, and it was a great way to start off the show because it was a match where there was nothing on the line. There was nothing that these guys were fighting for. It was just a one-on-one match, and they showed up to put on. They showed up to win. It feels like that they are trying to win, and the wins are supposed to mean something. And obviously, Eli Kaner beat Ty Jackson in the Eli Kaner's character's pay-per-view debut, and I enjoyed it. I loved the match. These guys went on for a good 20 minutes. They were battling back and forth. It was enjoyable to watch. It was just a great feel to the match. Steady pace throughout. There was never a dull moment. There was never a boring moment. And as the match continued to go on, you felt more and more invested in the match. So I enjoyed it. I loved it. It was great. 4 stars out of 5 stars. 4 stars maybe stretching it. It may have been a 3.5 out of 5 stars, but I was just more involved in it than I expected to be, which blew me away, and I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 stars. So it was a great way to start Agony. And obviously afterwards, he gets up on the top rope to, celebrate his win or whatever, and Ty Jackson's just walking up the ramp, obviously letting Eli Kaner have his moment, but knowing, got to step it up. Be better next time. So we go backstage. We get an interview by Anna Walczak with the global champion Hernastley on his chances of walking out with a global championship in the next match coming up. He pretty much goes on talking about how the numbers game is not in his favor, and how he's got Seth, who is going to do anything he can to win. He will fight dirty, and you have Crimson Red, who is he is endured, he is passionate in what he does, and he always finds a way to be able to capitalize on opportunities. So he's got his hands full tonight, but he feels as though he's got what it takes to walk out as the champion. So we go into the next match, which is the 3-way dance for the Global Championship. They've stopped calling it a 3-way match. They've started calling it a 3-way dance. So I like that kind of mixture. You've had people with wrestling, whenever it's called a 4-way match or a 3-way match, they obviously take it in a sexual manner. So they find a loophole to that. So they call it a 3-way dance now. At least tonight they did. And it is for the Global Championship. Hernastley defends against Seth, former champion Seth, and Crimson Red. This match was really good. I find that a lot of 3-way dance matches in USW tend to be good just because the people that are booked in those matches know how to go one-on-one and know how to go with their opponents. So whenever they have an opportunity to either go one-on-one or to kind of go back and forth, they're able to capitalize. In the WWE, you see a lot of these fatal 4-ways and fatal 5-ways and triple threats where it's a lot of mix-up, and one person will be out cold for 10 minutes. But this is more realistic. It has a more up pace, and there are more spots. They're able to let loose. There's no disqualifications. There's no countouts. They have free way to expand and go out of their horizons. So Hernasli was obviously using whatever he could to his advantage, whether he'd find a weapon or he would utilize a turnbuckle post or he would run around the ring, get in the ring, and then stomp on whoever it may be, the performer that runs in the ring to get him. He used the ropes at one point. He used the turnbuckles at whatever points he could. He utilized whatever he possibly could to gain an upper hand and an advantage. Seth played dirty. He was the heel in this match. He was using whatever weapon he got his hands on. He was using the low blows, the thumbs to the eyes. He was pulling the hair. He was pulling the neck back on the ropes, refusing to let go of the rope break because he doesn't have to, because there's no disqualifications. And Crimson Red is the loyal guy. He's showing passion and drive. He's just getting any opportunity that he sees, he takes advantage of, and that is nothing. There is no moment more apparent of that than when, at the very end, Hernasli hits the case on Seth and then turns around into a lariat by Crimson Red and then gets hit in the face with a Crimson Flip, which is kind of like a standing shooting star press, but more towards like the upper body than the midsection. And Crimson Red covers him 1, 2, 3. Seth is down. Crimson wins, picks up the win, and earns his first global championship reign, or global championship run or whatever. Which is interesting, and I'm really liking this idea because you had Seth a couple weeks ago get his rematch and he lost, but he gets a number one contendership, or gets to become a number one contender as well as Crimson Red. So Seth is out of the picture now. He's lost the global championship, lost his rematch, lost the number one contendership match. He's out. Crimson Red is the new champion. Hernasli is going to come back for it, which means at Call to Greatness 12, you will more than likely have, for the global championship, the two biggest baby faces on Severity in Crimson Red and Hernasli going at each other for the global championship, which should add intrigue and implemented into that feud for the global championship and should make it mean something special. So Crimson Red ultimately comes out on top with the ability to capitalize on any advantage or any opportunity that he gets, picks up the win 1, 2, 3, walks away the global champion. I liked this match. Not enough to say I was invested in it too much. I was just I really liked the match because it wasn't as a spot fest as you would assume it to be. But it was, it had those spots, it had those moments, but it was solid throughout, and I liked it. So 3.5 out of 5 stars for that match. I enjoyed it. We get into the third match, which is probably what people expected to have, if not the least interested in the match, the second most, or second least interested in match of the night, and that is Paul Orlando versus Prophecy. This feud has stemmed from the Outcast pay-per-view, where Prophecy turned heel on Paul Orlando and attacked him after they lost the tag team match, which led to Paul Orlando feuding with Prophecy, kind of building his way up the mid-card division and into something hopefully special. So, Paul Orlando for the past couple of weeks has looked strong. Prophecy has looked to be a decent heel. Obviously, a lot of people love him because he's just been that strong babyface mid-carder for the past couple of years in USW. And Paul Orlando is, on the rise. He is a very athletic, competitor. He is great in the ring. He's great on the mic, and he's great with, the character that he has. He's driven, determined, passionate. He looks like he's enjoying what he's doing. And Paul Orlando has just been on the rise as of late. I was expecting this match to be really good. I expected this match to have a very nice culmination, and it did. And the ending was really great, but the match in itself as a whole was great. It was great storytelling throughout the match. You saw Paul Orlando trying to counter whatever Prophecy's dirty tactics were, and at the same time remain strong and humbled and win this the right way. So there's no, I lost because of this, or this happened, which is why I lost. It didn't turn out that way. Paulo Orlando missed some of the opportunities to counter Prophecy and his dirty tactics. He got the thumb to the eye a couple of times. He got the pulling of the hair a couple of times, but it was nothing too costly. The one costly moment was right near the end, or right before you got towards the end part, where he went to the top rope, kind of staggered a little bit because he was trying to keep his balance, trying to keep a sense of, I want to get to here, from here, and hit it perfectly. He didn't want to misjudge and miscalculate. So he sets himself again. Prophecy gets up immediately and rushes to the corner. So because he took too much time to capitalize, he ended up costing not only valuable time, but also a possible win. And at the end, even though he fought back, hit the Orlando Sunray, he gets caught in the limb lock and taps out. About a minute and a half, he stays in there for a while. Probably the longest anybody's stayed in a limb lock in a long time. And he ends up tapping out. Prophecy gets the win with heel tactics, kind of, but not as heelish as you would assume. But Paul Orlando, he looked strong. He did not give up as quick as anybody thought he would. They would have thought he'd tap out within 10, 15 seconds. He lasted about a minute and a half, which, I mean, the only time I can imagine or remember somebody lasting longer in that submission was probably Lane in 2015, I want to say. No, 2014 probably. But either way, really good match, really great storytelling. Paul Orlando looks strong as fuck after the match, and Prophecy looks like a dastardly motherfucker. And I'm just excited to see what he does at Call to Greatness. That should be interesting. And yeah, so Prophecy picks up the win. 4 out of 5 stars. I'll give it 4 out of 5 stars. We enter the 4th match for the World Tag Team Championships. The Martin brothers, Alex Martin and George Martin, defend against Drew Akron and Chris Sanders of the Mobocracy. This match was great. The Martin brothers know how to work with other tag teams. Obviously, they're brothers. They know each other, from the back of their hand. It was a really good match. And there might not have been as much storytelling as there was focus on the Mobocracy, but there was just really great in-ring wrestling. You had Alex Martin trying to take cheap ways out whenever George Martin was, had, let's say, Chris Sanders in a submission maneuver. Drew Akron would try to get in the ring. The referee would go over to Akron, and Alex Martin would get in the ring really quickly, stomp the shit out of Chris Sanders, and then run back out to his corner. And they just play the dastardly heel tactics. They are a really good, sufficient heel tag team. They know all the tricks. They know all the rules, the ways around. They know how to cheap shot someone and use it to their advantage, get away with it, kind of like something like that. And overall, the Martin brothers used every dastardly heel tactic you could think of. But Akron and Sanders had the Mobocracy going, were in their corner. So you had Capital, who would point out to the referee, let's say Drew Akron had his foot under the rope, even though he didn't know it, I guess. See that and point that out, because Capital and Chris Ross, who were at the ringside area, weren't getting involved, but they were there to kind of lend a seeing eye. And in USW, the referees don't just go, no, I don't care what you're saying. You're not involved in the match. I'm not going to listen to you. If the referee's seen Capital point out that Akron's foot is under the rope while George Martin has an ankle lock in, or has a crossface in, crossface is more realistic, crossface in, then the referee will see that and he'll break the hold. So Capital and Chris Ross, overall the Mobocracy tonight, or last night, was just really good at not getting involved unless they were to point something out to the referee. So they were kind of like the referee's seeing eye. And I'm hoping that in future cases, this leads to the Mabakar being able to use it to their advantage by saying, "Hey, his foot's on the rope when it's not on, when it's not under it." But the referee will say, "Okay, we got to break up the hold." So I think that would be an interesting little element to it, getting on the referee's good side and having it be different referees. They get on the referee's good side. They know that they're trustworthy. Kind of the referees seeing them as a good guy team or good guy stable when they're really the dastardly heels. I like that. I think that's interesting. That idea would be great. It would be something that you really don't see, really haven't seen before. So that would be interesting. Overall, great match. And Drew Akron and Chris Sanders win with I don't remember what it was, but they ended up picking up the win. So Chris Sanders and Drew Akron pick up the win and become the new World Tag Team Champions. And at the end, they were announced as the new World Tag Team Champions, representing the Mabocracy, Drew Akron and Chris Sanders. So really good match. I really enjoyed it. It was great. I'm going to give it 3.5 stars out of 5 stars, but overall, solid match. All right, fifth match. Tanner Wallace, or Tanner from Surf and Tanner, with Blaine North and the Hooded Figure versus Yo-Yo Joe. This match was really good. It was slower than what you saw on the regular card throughout the rest of throughout the beginning of the night. Tanner Wallace is a good worker. He just works at a slower pace than many. He works at a slower pace than many, which is fitting for Yo-Yo Joe because obviously he has a kid now and he's up very late at night. He barely gets enough sleep as it is, I would imagine. So he got asked to work at a slower pace, especially considering he doesn't want to get hurt because he's got bills to pay. He's got a wife to feed. He's got a family to feed. He's got a wife to take care of, a child to take care of. So he's got to kind of keep himself healthy. So he works at a slower pace than he has before and in years past. And Tanner Wallace works at a slow pace too, which is probably why this match was, what it was, as good as it was, because there's not one person who works a higher pace and one who works a steady pace. They both kind of work a steady pace, so it was more drawn out and it was more, I don't want to say rough, but it was more of a sit down and enjoy the storytelling, I guess, kind of match. I enjoyed it. There were spots that were enjoyable. You had Blaine North hit a big boot on Yo-Yo Joe when he was up against the ropes, and Tanner Wallace was pulling the referee away. You had a moment where the Hooded Figure tried to get underneath the ring with the apron to pick something out. And Yo-Yo Joe was trying to pull at the hood, get like the sweatshirt type thing off because he had a sweatshirt and he had a black mask. And obviously we know who it is. It's in the title. But he was trying to pull off the mask and everything like that, and he couldn't do it because Tanner Wallace would come in and interfere. There were some great, little stories and touches to it, and it was interesting. And I like this because it gives Yo-Yo Joe a match at Call of Greatness 12, which is a big payday for him, and I'm sure he needs it. I just really like the match, and Wallace ends up getting hit with a string effect to end the match, and Joe then gets hit with a chair by Blaine North. This is behind the referee's back because the Hooded Figure is trying to get the referee, I don't know, distracted or something like that. He drops the chair. Tanner Wallace crawls over to Joe, puts his arm over him. 1, 2, 3, picks up the win. The Hooded Figure then gets the chair in the ring, picks up Joe, up, down DDT, kind of like a pile driver type DDT, and then pulls him into the middle of the ring and pulls off the sweatshirt, pulls off the mask. It's Suzuki Kirokashi, which was kind of surprising to see because I expected it to be kind of like I don't know, BP Fierce, something like that. But it wasn't. It was Suzuki Kirokashi, who you may have remembered from the days with um, he was supposed to be in the Ferocity developmental roster, like the character development thing, where they'd have a whole separate show. It was supposed to be its own brand with guys who were just as experienced as the guys on Intensity Severity. It's supposed to be treated as a developmental brand, so that way they can go up to another show to kind of add numbers to the rosters. And well, at that time it was supposed to be the Intensity roster, but still add number to the Intensity roster and give them a little backstory for people to watch, just in case when they went up to the main roster, they wanted to see where their influence was. Ferocity didn't last long, and Suzuki Kirokashi didn't get on Ferocity, but he was supposed to be one of the more notable wrestlers on that roster, and then he strikes him in the fucking nose with his knee, and practically knocks him out, and then raises Wallace and Blaine North's hands above the air. So it looks like Suzuki Kirokashi, Tanner Wallace, and Blaine North are now kind of like a tag team or a stable little group type thing. I'm interested to see where this goes from here, because I like the pairing. Tanner Wallace and Blaine North are big guys. They work at a pretty high pace. Well, Tanner Wallace works at a steady pace. Blaine North works at a more upper tone pace. And Suzuki Kirokashi is a great technical wrestler. I saw him at one of the live shows that USW had up in Fishkill a couple of months ago, and overall, I think it's going to be a really good fit, those three, and I think they made a great decision with who was going to be in that group. I think Suzuki Kirokashi adds the wrestling implement to it. Tanner Wallace and Blaine North add that numbers game to Suzuki Kirokashi and kind of builds up a group. I like it. So this match I'm going to give 3 out of 5 stars, just because it was like the least invested I was in any of the matches of the night. But that's fine. It was still great for what it was. So there's that. Match number 6 for the International Championship. Lone Wolf defends against the number 1 contender for the World Heavyweight Championship, Majagetta. This match was really good. I really enjoyed it, primarily the fact because it was 2 incredible wrestlers who have worked with each other before, know each other's movesets like the back of their hand, and instead of it being for the World Championship that they're fighting for, it's the International Championship. They last fought back in 2014 at Call to Greatness 9. And now it's like they've grown a bit more, they developed their skills a bit more, and now they're both big names on the roster. Lone Wolf wasn't expected to retain the International Championship tonight, especially by me, because I thought Majagetta would be going into Call to Greatness 12 to win both the International Championship and World Heavyweight Championship. I thought that was going to be where they went with it. Apparently not. Lone Wolf ends up beating Majagetta clean, and I enjoyed it because of the fact that you had Lone Wolf show more of a dominant side. He was trying to beat down Majagetta, kind of wear him out more so than the technical wrestling that he usually goes with and the technical flow that he usually shows. But Majagetta would end up fighting back. He would expend energy, and Lone Wolf ducks the Decapitator and hits the Howling Moon on Majagetta to pick up the win. And so after he hits the 1, 2, 3, the bell rings, he gets up and goes to get the International Championship, walloped with the most dastardly capital punishment boot I've ever seen. You saw it was at a frame where you saw Lone Wolf's face saw Lone Wolf's face as he went up. He got up. You saw the quick change of emotion, and then boom, you saw his head snap back with a capital punishment boot. It looked just like it looked like his face fucking caved in, right then and there. It was probably the best capital punishment boot. Sorry. Probably the best capital punishment boot I've ever seen. And And Capital, obviously a part of the mobocracy, so sorry. He goes into a feud with Lone Wolf again, kind of like reigniting the feud that they had, a month ago and prior, which means Capital will have a Call to Greatness 12 match as well, and it'll be against Lone Wolf. It'll be one of the prominent matches on the severity card, as it'll more than likely be Lone Wolf versus Capital for the International Championship. I like that. I enjoy it. So yeah. Oh yeah, and then Capital runs out of the building with the international title. So he steals the international title. Forgot to mention that. But yeah, I think that's interesting. I like that idea. So it hasn't been done in a while. So we get into the 7th match. It's the main event match. It is for the World Heavyweight Championship. Austin Atomic defends the belt against Wolf Ranger. This was obviously a filler match, so that way they had one challenger in between the Outcast pay-per-view and Call to Greatness, because you had at Outcast, you had a guy already lined up, and at Call to Greatness, you have a guy lined up. So this was kind of like a filler match. Excuse me. A filler match in between, or a filler for, I don't know, an excuse match. Sorry. Overall, the match was really good. I liked it because Wolf Ranger is a powerhouse. I love seeing Wolf Ranger. And Austin Atomic is, very up-tempo, so he was trying to counter whatever Wolf Ranger did. Wolf Ranger would beat the shit out of him whenever he could. He hit him with a couple knee strikes, get him with a couple kicks, punches, forearms, whatever. He ended up hitting a bunch of shoulder tackles to his jaw during the midpoint of the match. Austin Atomic took out of the ring 5 times throughout the match, maybe, to kind of gather himself again. And overall, the match was really good. The ending was Wolf Ranger going for the silencer. And I think Austin Atomic rolled him up and then hit the atomic landing on him. And then he didn't roll him up as like a roll-up pin, but he rolled him over and then hit the atomic landing and covered him for the win. So Austin Atomic picks up the win over Wolf Ranger. And now it is Austin Atomic versus Majagetta. It is confirmed Austin Atomic versus Majagetta for the World Heavyweight Championship at Call to Greatness 12 on April 30th, 2017. So the end of the show ends up with Majagetta walking out with an ice pack on his right shoulder, walking out to the front of the stage, looking at Austin Atomic, and Austin Atomic just puts the belt on or from off his shoulder up in the air and just points at the Motiontron as Call to Greatness 12's little graphic pops up on the screen. And there's that. So the ending of the show just settles the World Championship match for Call to Greatness 12, which I'm more interested in seeing than the USW Championship match, because still don't know who's in the USW Championship match besides Derek Carter. But overall, that match gets a 3 stars out of 5 stars. And yeah, I enjoyed it. It was kind of one-sided, but Austin Atomic had his offense in there. But overall, Agony, really good show. The first half of the card, was perfect. I loved it. You had incredible wrestling. Sorry. First half of the card was great. The second half was kind of losing steam as we went on. But it was a great, the ending scene was, an awesome way to end the show. Overall, was it worth $19.99 to rent? Yes, I would say so, just because it was the final pay-per-view before Call to Greatness. Was it worth the extra $5 to own? I wouldn't say so. Or to download. I wouldn't say so, because had the entire card been solid all the way through, wrestling wise, I would have said, yeah, I would pay $5 to just go back and watch it, on my fucking download drive, whatever. However you download shit from the black web or whatever, or the deep web, because that's the USW streaming service. It utilizes the deep web for some stupid reason. I don't know. But I enjoyed it. I liked it. I loved the first half. Second half kind of fell off. I wouldn't say it's worth $5 to own or to download, but it was great for what it was. And what it was a solid send-off pay-per-view to Cult of Greatness 12, which is in 35 days if you follow my Twitter at Zachary Sarah. So with that being said, guys, that's going to do it for the USW Agony 2017 review. I hope you enjoyed. It was a lot of fun to watch, and it was even more fun to review because I got to give my honest thoughts on it, and the honest thoughts of the show were it was a solid show from the first half, started losing steam, then it kind of picked it up a little bit. But great storytelling throughout the entire night, and obviously I'm more excited for the severity side of the card for Cult of Greatness, but doesn't mean intensity can't shock me. With that being said, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed my like, comment, and subscribe for more. I will more than likely be giving you a USW Cult of Greatness 12 preview as well around the final couple of weeks, before the card is fully stacked or fully put in place. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed my like, comment, and subscribe for more. My name is Zach Hardy, and I am signing off.